We're live. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hi, MQ Mariquita.
Hi, JJ. It's great to be here. Y'all, we just thought we would reach out to our wonderful friends on Facebook, everyone that's watching. Please let us know where you're watching from and let us know if the audio quality is good. This is kind of a test, y'all. And anyway, I also have the air fryer in the background, which is not a good way to test the mic. But let me know how it sounds. It's not letting me use the right mic. But
I
Jay,
didn't even know you could fry air.
yeah, you can. Remember the last
I
time we
don't eat air. Well, I guess we do. We all do, right?
Well, remember when we were on here and I was cooking in the instant pot?
Yes.
And
Something happened, right?
yeah,
I
the
don't
rest,
remember the exact details, but you and me in the kitchen, I don't know if we should allow that.
right, and that's why you eat a lot of raw, safer.
It is definitely safer. The other day, I wasn't even trying to use the stove, and I was moving like I had gotten groceries. I was trying to like sort them all out, and I hit one of the burners by mistake and flipped it to like burner number like on, and I like, oh my, I had to hurry up and get the bags off the stove because it was like crazy. I'm like, I gotta tell you about this, and I forgot, but now I just did.
Well,
We
thanks.
always joke about our little what do you call it, like our little kitchen mishaps, I guess you'd call it, or faux pas. Is that a word? I don't know
Yes,
what
our
that is.
mishaps. But actually, we are very good chefs, despite all of our
Despite that,
mishaps.
right? I know. Well, I'm not the best, but you are. I mean, I can come up with some things, but you actually do a lot of cooking and cooking for even other people, like for your church and things. So you know it's got to be good because they keep coming back for it.
Yeah, I mean, Reverend Richard said my cheese was the best cheese he ever had.
And
So
how
that,
do you make that? Would you tell everyone here that might want to know, like, what do you make it based on? Like, how are you eating cheese as a vegan for the new people here?
so I soak cashews. You usually soak them overnight, or you can soak them in boiling water for 2 hours, and then blend those up in the air fryer after you drain them. The air fryer. What am I saying? Blend them up in the food processor, and then put some. I usually use the stone ground mustard with some agave nectar and what? Oh, I really love herbs now. So I can't say this. Herbs de Provence. Do you speak French?
No, I took Espanol.
Okay. Anyway, herbs de Provence, and I don't put. It says to put coconut oil in it, but I don't. I put in just water, and there's got to be more to it than that. But really, there's it's very minimal things that you add, and you can put in whatever flavors you want. But the herbs de Provence are just super. I mean, they have so much flavor, and I was very proud because I got there was a sale the last time I got 3 little bottles, and so I need to make a bunch of cheese. So anyway, I have a good friend at church, also Al, and I gave him a bunch of cheese because, well, I'm really trying to eat a lot more fruit now, and I don't want to have a whole stuff of cheese over here eating it all the time. You know,
Even though it's healthy cheese, right? I'm rubbing off on you with the fruit thing. I was
right?
just making a video on my stream about that, about how fruit was the missing link in my raw vegan, journey, because I would go back to like I was eating only salad and there was not a whole lot of calories and just it was kind of like the missing link for me. So I think everybody can do good just increasing the fruit. It's really healthy food. So, but so is vegan cheese in a way too. So, whatever you're feeling, whatever makes you not eat animals, do it.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Um, so, well, tell me why you think that your teeth are not meant for eating meat.
So, I think that our teeth, well, from comparative anatomy, like if we look at, I think you asked me why our teeth as humans are not meant to eat meat, right? Okay. So, like, if we look at comparative anatomy of the difference between carnivores and herbivores, and what I consider us frugivore, which is just basically a herbivore that eats fruit. Um, if we look at it that way, we see the different digestive systems. But when it comes to the teeth, there's two main things. The way that the jaw structure, like if you ever noticed how your dog eats, it's like up and down. So omnivores and carnivores, their jaw structure moves that way. Ours moves in like a grinding motion, so you can chew and kind of extract the nutrients out of it. And then the other thing is, like, I don't know about you, but I don't think if I was in the wild and I had no pots and pans, no person that was, killing the animal, if they would go and take it out and then put it in a nice package and get it over to the grill, I don't think that I would be able to attack an animal with my bare hands and teeth and eat it. And I wouldn't have that instinct to do it. So our teeth are not even, they don't even look like that of a carnivore. These little things hanging down are to help us get into an orange peel. Like, this is not the teeth of someone. And it's just the digestive system, the length of it also has to do with it, because I think the length of the digestive system of a carnivore is very short. The meat is meant to go in and out. Also, think about this: we can't even eat raw meat with it being safe. It just, people get sick from raw meat. So it just doesn't even make sense to me that we would think we're carnivores when the carnivore is being manipulated into, like, having to cook it and season it and do all these things to it, when we can't really compare ourselves to that system. People can eat whatever they want. Obviously, we're survival based, and I think that's why people started drinking milk and stuff as they moved from the closer to the equator, maybe in certain times of like famine, when it was too cold to grow fruit or whatever. But I think originally we had to be plant based, because if we had no tools, if we stripped ourselves down of everything that we know, fire, tools, we would never instinctively be able to go kill a live animal and eat it, because we would, first of all, have gotten sick, and second of all, I don't even think any of us have that instinct. We all like meat because of, before we were vegan, because of the way it was kind of prepared for us, and the sort of notion that we needed it. I think that was too long of an answer just about teeth, but I had to keep going. I got on
No,
this
it
tangent.
was a good answer. Thank you. I wanted to learn from the expert. So I'm going to check my potatoes. I need to give them a shake. And can you, while I'm checking potatoes, will you tell everybody about your amazing book? And I have it here.
Oh, nice. I got a copy too, believe it or not, of my own book. Oh my goodness, she put me on that large screen. So my book is How I Went from Sad to Glad, my simple 4-step blueprint to transform your health, weight, and mindset to finally reach your goals with joy and ease. And I'm a plant-based and mindset coach. And sorry, there's, of course, as soon as I get, people are on their way to get the book. Look, everyone's there, even being led by a fire truck to get here so quickly to buy this. No, these are not here. You can go to Amazon for them. But I really wanted to write about my journey to how I came from the standard American diet, and I saw this documentary, and I tried a crazy 3-day experiment on raw foods, like, plants, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And I ended up feeling good and kept going. I lost 55 pounds, ended seasonal allergies, stopped chronic back pain. So I found a miracle, and I just kind of put together what worked for me in this book, and also told my story. And I found that mindset was the most important thing. So that's why it's really focused on, not really a book of recipes, but a book of how to help you sort of have a mind plan instead of a meal plan to be able to get healthy.
Well, everyone needs to get this book and subscribe to this channel and to Veganowledge channel, JJ of Veganowledge. And wait, I was going to say something. Darn it. Oh, yeah, I wanted your tips on remaining calm. So, a lot of times when we get into conversations with people, pre vegans, we can get triggered. And how do you stay calm? Now, I know you have a very a job, I mean, that you've worked in the industry where you have to de escalate people. How do
Hmm.
you recommend de escalating people and keeping yourself calm?
I use this method that I've been using for years, even before I was vegan, and you could look at it as eat, like EAT. Why do I always have to end up back on food? But this has nothing to do with it. Like empathize, acknowledge, and then teach. And like, so if someone, it doesn't matter if they're coming at you with, like, I guess the thing is, we forget where we were coming from. Like, and of course, I would have never been as rude as some of the people have been on the comments. But when we don't understand things and we feel like somebody's telling us we're doing something wrong, I think that's what triggers, first of all, people who are still eating meat and dairy, right? Like, because we're all the same. Like, we need to focus on what our similarities are. It just in the world in general, the way people are so charged against each other, whether politically or whatever. But if we found ways that we're all alike more than ways we're all different, and tried to identify with that, then that would open somebody up to, like, to listening to us, at least to our perspective. So I like think if someone says something like, well, what's something that you might say on one of these posts if someone says, well, you're a crazy vegan, meat is necessary, and I love, killing animals, whatever. So I would say, you know what? I completely understand where you're coming from, because I too, felt that way before, and I understand that it's frustrating, that, this is frustrating for you to see this information that you don't need meat and dairy. But then I kind of go into, that's my acknowledge and empathy, identify their core emotion, because we know we're already getting charged up. But the more that we, like, respect them in a sense, even though what they might be saying is not, doesn't make us initially feel that way, we have to think of their perspective and say, you know what, I too once was misguided, once what I feel is misguided when I was growing up, because everybody was doing the best they can. Everybody wants to keep themselves healthy. And if they think, and they've been told, just like we always are, that they need meat and dairy and that it's okay and it's normal, and they haven't connected the dots that animals and farm animals are all the same, like the dogs and cats, like they're in a different headspace. So the more we can realize that if we start arguing with them, that's just going to prove them right, instead of accepting what they're saying, allowing ourselves that moment to actually acknowledge it, and then saying our part. But here's what I learned. And instead of saying, you're wrong, you're stupid, and we shouldn't be in a me versus vegans. That's not what this is about. It's about us trying to open our perspective up to them. And nothing gets opened up when we are, judgmental either way on either side. And you will find that there are people who are going to still come at you mean, but who knows who else is reading that post that you might be commenting on? There might be somebody who's not, triggered or charged. And that person, even though they might come off that way, we've opened that little spark of curiosity. Because when I first heard this, I thought it was crazy. I was like, these people aren't eating cooked food and they're not eating meat. Oh my goodness. And they didn't, die from it. So we all thought that at some point, until we learned, but if you don't open somebody up to learning, what's the point, right? You can't, if you don't let them learn, or if they're never accepting the hearing the information. And you and Dr. Angela and Claire, all of you ladies also have great information on that particular part of it, too. Like the way, the mindset is so important.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points there. And I wanted to say one thing that I remembered another very important ingredient with in the vegan cheese, nutritional yeast.
I
So,
was gonna ask about that, and I was like, totally. You like started talking about I forget what it was after that, and then I forgot. But I was gonna say so many people, like people. The lady in my group puts it on her popcorn.
hmm, I do too. Yeah, and you know what I wanted to say also was that people. So I know that people say if you're a hunter, I don't have anything in common with you, and then now you've split off. So there's no talking to that person. So I've told this story before, and I'll keep it real simple because I want to end this in about 5 minutes because I got to run out. But y'all,
No, you can't leave. You're hostage here. You must stay.
so there was a time that I was in this little dive bar in Tennessee. I grew up in Chattanooga, and there was a guy next to me, and he was talking, and he loved his dog and all this. And then as he talked, I realized he would fall under the category. A lot of people would say it was a racist, right? And I was sitting there, and then he told his story. He got into more and more depth of the story, and it turned out as a little boy he was harassed by a certain group of people, and so I was able to understand with empathy why he did not like this kind of people. And then I thought, if I said, I don't want to have anything to do with racists, right? Then, and I don't have anything in common with them, that would not be true because he really loved his little dog, and he just told me these immense stories from his heart. And how that really was a very impactful moment in my life, realizing that if I had said I'm not going to talk to this guy anymore, it was just a one time event. I never saw him again, but it really was profound in that we all have things in common, and from that commonality, we can each learn from each other.
Mm-hmm. And it's good to bounce off of that particular thing that you have in common, maybe to open up the perspective. Like, if somebody loves their pets, like I did, I love my cats. And, I also say to people who are like, they might rescue cats and dogs and things like that. We have a lot in common with that person in the fact that we are fighting for the voiceless. So I'm like, while you fight for them, I also fight for animals, but just farmed animals and fish and things, like that. Like that connection, that's what brought us all to being vegan. So, like you said, if I have somebody that's sharing a picture of their steak online, but I also know that they love animals, instead of judging them, what if we opened up the conversation around how much we love animals and kind of then brought that perspective in that I've discovered, like, so I think it's just very interesting. Like you said, you can just judge somebody, but like this guy you were talking to, you actually were able to get deeper and see where that came from, why he did not like this group of people, and then make him possibly, will he understand in one conversation? No, but maybe you opened up a new perspective that, just because we're not exactly alike, like if we only hung out with people that were exactly like us, we wouldn't be able to learn anything from others too.
Right. And to see that he even knew why he held these beliefs against the people, against those people, I mean, that even just him voicing it is one step closer to an awareness that could shift his perspective.
Hmm. Yeah, because if you are not like him coming outside of himself and self-identifying that, you're right. That if he can do that, he's almost to that next level of consciousness, I think.
I think so too. Okay, so I'm really watching the time because I gotta jump in the car and take off. So listen, give me some final words. I mean, you are one of my best friends, and
Aw,
we
you're
always
my
have
best
such a
friend.
good time.
I know, and like, I would say to people, the real thing is this person here I never would have known without being online and being in Facebook groups and communities, and like veganism, and like me, I don't remember exactly who even introduced us or how it even happened, but I would say if you are someone who is, looking for just making connections. Like, don't be afraid of social media, because sometimes you can find, your best friends on there in this age and, day anyway, and things like this. And especially if you're a new or beginner vegan, of course, that's what we tend to, relay back to a lot. That's a great way to get involved with other people and like-minded people. So I'm glad we met, and thank you for being there all the time for me, and all of our goofy, you know, not only sense of humor that we have, but being able to like talk just about anything.
Yeah, well, thank you for listening to all my rants and bringing me the sanity, calming me down. You're grounding, and that's what we need. We need each other. So, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, remember, everybody, subscribe and then go to JJ's channel, Veganowledge, and tell us about what's coming up tonight.
Oh, I'm going on. It's called Roar Sky. Sky Conway, Conway. She's an amazing woman, raw vegan. She's had so many health challenges, and she's a raw vegan chef, and has an ebook recipe. And we're going to be talking about mindset, and when you're mindset for vegan and raw vegans.
Great. All right.
I know you got a bunch going on. We don't even have time to say all of that. I know you have so much good work you're doing. So I was like, I'm always amazed. I can't keep up with this lady. And look, right now she's got to run anyway. So something else going on. She's the busiest woman I have ever seen.
No, that's you. That's why we're good friends. All right. Now, we're not that busy, but whatever. Anyway, y'all, thanks for watching, everybody. And thanks, JJ, for joining me. We'll have to do it again soon.
Thanks for everything you do for our animals and our environment. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Bye, y'all.